let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's okay. Hopefully by the end of the class, I won't be down to 4. It's like, so anyhow, we're.
Oh, yeah. Are people going to be like freaking out because now we're going to do real Greek alphabet?
Yes, and that's the fun part.
There was a mistake in your letter. It said the homework was easy.
Really? Okay, well, we'll make it easy for you tonight.
I can copy letters, but translating that thing was not easy.
Yeah, just turn to John chapter 1.
Well, I knew it. Yeah, but
that wasn't part of your homework. Your homework was only to copy letters. If you went that far, you've gone way ahead. And
okay.
Yes,
I couldn't do the letters. I couldn't do the letters either. I got the Zeta, and I couldn't make that to save my life.
yes,
yeah, that's hard.
the Zeta is just, it's a curlicue that just does, it defies the American hand. And then there's another one, XZ, which is XI.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. That's got an extra loop. So it's drawn exactly the same as the Zeta, but it's got a little extra pigtail on it. And it's like, how, and my hand, I guess you have to be left-handed to do it or something. I don't know.
I'm left-handed.
Okay, well, you tell us if it's easier. Yeah. What we're doing tonight is actually starting the Greek alphabet. Some of you, like Maura, who's done it in mathematics. So good. But we'll go through it again. Also, I was looking on YouTube and I discovered there's still a raging debate on how to pronounce these if you were going to speak them out loud. Our class is just to help you learn how to read them. But apparently all the pronunciations that are taught in seminary was due to a man by the name of Erasmus in the 1500s. And all the modern Greek speakers who are, that's their mother tongue, they swear curses at Erasmus and all his progeny, which would be us. It's like, ah! So anyhow, you will, if you try to pronounce these with a native born modern Greek speaker, they will get all over your case. And they said, oh, you Americans, you know, Erasmunites, you know, whatever. And it's just like, oh my, mercy, mercy. It's time, time to learn Greek. Our goal here is twofold. One is to help you to pick out and phonetically read basic Bible words. And the second goal is to build up your confidence that when you're reading the English translations, you'll start thinking, oh, I know why that particular word was used, or I know an alternative that would speak better to it, and you just, you know, have fun. I'm going to, if you've already have read through the entire lessons already, you're ahead. I was just saying your homework was just for the next page. So the best way to introduce the alphabet is not to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's not helpful for an English speaker to learn Greek. Instead, we're going to learn it by looking at some Greek words that use those letters, and you go, oh, okay, and you start absorbing it. Abba, which means dad, the alpha, beta, beta, alpha. This beta, when you're drawing it, start from this bottom stem, work your way up, around, and around. That's Abba. To start at the bottom of the B and then draw it and curve down like this. I find that it's easier to draw than trying to do it the other way, or there's not a downstroke like you would have in English with a capital B. It's all one hand stroke, and this was because it was cursive writing. The alpha, start up at this corner and swirl around this way, and when you finish at the bottom, you'll get a little flip with the pen, and that's how you get that little point on the end of it. So you always start here, that's the zip around and up, beta, come down here, up and around. So it even looks like ABBA, A-B-B-A. Here's a new letter for you. This is the letter nu. Start with the N over here, come down as if you're making a V. The trick to the nu is it's got this little lip right here. It's got a very slight edge. It's not a very big edge, but it's zip and then a V. Alpha, you start here, up and around. And then the tau is very much like an American T. You make the top bar and then a downstroke, but instead of just being a straight downstroke, you come down and have the little flip. So a lot of these, you'll see a little flip at the end. The iota, same sort of thing, kind of looks like Roman alphabet I. Start at the top, come down, and with the little flip at the end.
And it's not dotted. I keep dotting it.
Yeah, there's no dots.
Nu, if you imagine a line coming down, it looks just like our N.
A line coming down right here.
Correct.
Yep. Uh-huh. Auto looks just like the English word auto. It's like the N, you start on the lip here, and then it's just a curving action, and it looks like a U. U with a little lip on the left side. And then an O is just a simple circular O. Oh, by the way, auto means it, especially if it's an omicron. This is an omicron. It's a lowercase o. It's the soft O. Okay, balo, which means I throw. You know the beta, you know the alpha. This letter is a lambda. It starts here at the top, and you just make a swoopy there, and then after you got the swoop, you make give it a leg. That's the easiest way to draw it. Start at the top, swoop down, and then stick a leg on it. Omega is the long O, and it looks like just a fancy W. You start here, and you just kind of like a spiral graph circle your way around until you almost touch again, but there's got to be a gap there. So it looks like a highly ornate W. It's not angular at all. Ego, 2 new letters. This is the Epsilon, and it's kind of like an omega on its side. There's another way to draw the epsilon, which is more like a C with a line. But if you're doing it in one single stroke of the pen, you would just start here, come down, don't make a big of a circle, don't make a loop in it, but just come down and around. It's almost like drawing a 3 backwards. The next letter is gamma. Once again, start at this upper top, come down. You can make as tiny a loop as you want, but it needs to have some sort of loop at the bottom, and then come up and you're done. I've seen people draw the gamma from the other side, come down and that way. So I think it's whatever is going to be easiest for your hand. I always draw the gamma from this side because that's where a lot of the letters start, but you can see that the flip is, which is usually the end of the pen stroke, is on this side rather than on this side. I'm not going to grade your penmanship. Just as long as it looks like this loop has to go below the line and then come back up. The same with the beta. It starts below the line and then swoops up. Everything else sits right. Imagine an imaginary line on all these. They're sitting on a lined note paper. So the gamma drops below the line and the beta drops below the line. So ego, which means I. Emi, or Amy, depending on how you learned it, means I am. The Epsilon you've seen, the iota you've seen. Here's a new letter. This is the mu, and I tend to start at the bottom, go up, make a U shape, come back down with a flip. If you squint your eyes real hard, it kind of looks like an M, where the legs are squished in. But I start at the bottom, go up, make a U, come down, make the flip. In me, I am. Here's a new letter for you. This is the theta. It's simply an elongated O with a bar through it. There is an alternate way of drawing the theta with a single stroke. Most people, I find, it's just easy to make the big oval and just put a hash bar through it. One of the things I've noticed about all of these letters is their distinct styles. So you can have pretty lousy penmanship and people can still read it because the letters are so distinct from each other. The closest ones that give you trouble would be the nu, which needs a point, and the epsilon, which needs a rounded bottom. But otherwise, a lot of the letters are so unique that you could have terrible handwriting and it'll still be legible. So theta, epsilon, omicron again. This is just an ordinary S. It's the sigma at the end of a word always looks like our modern day S. There's various ways to draw it. My font doesn't have an ending S, so I had to run and just pick an ordinary S and jam it on to this word. So you'll see variations where the S the sigma kind of drops slightly below the line, but it still has that same curvy nature of an ordinary Roman S. Kappa is a letter you've seen before. Looks just like our K. Start at the top here, straight line down, lift the pen, start up here, come down, down, and slightly make a little twiggle, and you'll have a K. If you just go straight down, slash, slash, that works too. I mean, it's drawn just like a modern K. Alpha and iota. Chi means what, David?
Means and.
There you go. Just checking.
I was muted.
Oh. I'm just teasing you. So
I know. Now I got more words again.
Yeah, micro is has letters we've seen so far. So here's the mu again. Start at the bottom, go up, make a U, come up, come down, and do the little flip. Iota, start at the top, come down, put a little flip in it. Kappa, straight, 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 however it's easy. Now here is a new letter. It looks like a P. It's not, it's an R. It's the word for row. And to do it in one stroke, you start at the bottom, roll up and curve around, and then finish at the stem. And you do that in just one motion. It's not a downstroke and then a backward C. It's a single stroke, start at the bottom, go up and curve around, and there you go. This makes an R sound, and it drops below the line. Omicron we've seen. I'm moving on. This is the standard mathematical symbol for pi. And it is, it's three strokes. The top, one leg, the second leg with the flip. Pi, three strokes. epsilon, tau, rho again, omicron, sigma. So this spells Petros. It almost looks like Petros, except the P looks weird. In fact, I picked words that look very much like they do in English to help you out here. So theos, for instance, there's your EOS, just got a new letter. Chi looks like chi. Ami, the M looks like an M squished together. Ego, the G is kind of, yeah, doesn't quite look like a G. And then the omega is a brand new letter you need to learn. Okay, moving down to, people will say this is the key if you're a modern Greek. If you're Erasmus, it would be chi. So this is, I pronounce it chi, and that you'll see it in books phonetically spelled CHI. For me, I like using KH just to help you know that it's a very guttural chi. So this is charis. To draw this one, you first make the loop like you would with the lambda. You start at the top, come down and make the flip, and then just make a crossbar. Start at the top, come down, a flip, crossbar. And then that would be a chi. If you look at the lambda almost looks like the same way. You start at the top, do the flip, and half a crossbar. So the chi and the lambda are very similar. To make them different, when you're handwriting, you notice it does come slightly below the line. But if you're carving on a piece of stone, they never follow these rules. So if it looks like an X, you're close enough, right? So a flip, and then a crossbar. Alpha, like a fish, start at the back, go up and down, flip. Rows, start at the bottom, come up and around, stop at the stem, iota, and sigma. So I am now going to add a new letter with the word Christos. And this is a sigma, and this is a sigma. What's going on? Sigma always looks like this. You start here in the middle, and you just curve around like you're going to make an O, but you keep on going. So you start at the top, make an O, and then keep on going. Make a ledge on the right hand side. Kind of go whoop. It's almost with the kind of same hand motion as a row. You start here, go whoop. It almost looks like it's, you know, a variant of the row just sitting on its side. But row, you start at the bottom, flip around. Here you start at the top, curve around, and you're at the end. And then you can make your next T. So you can imagine this is handwritten. They go for speed, and you can see my pen's already ready to make the T. So I make the T bar and come make the downstroke with the flip. And I could start at the top, or I could start at the bottom. O's are not particular where you start. And then I got my S. So the new letter here is a sigma. The new letter here was a chi. Zozo, which means I rescue. It gets translated as I save, but more like I'm rescuing you. Long O's. So here's our sigma. The fancy W making the O. Another fancy W making an O. Here is the toughie. I have never figured out how to draw this properly. Do you start at the bottom or do you start at the top? Since there's a flip up here, I'm assuming you start at the bottom. You come up, curve, and then make a pigtail. My hand refuses to draw it correctly, so you'll have to practice this one. Start at the bottom.
What's that letter called, Harry?
This is the zeta or zeta. Here is a new letter. This is the PH sound. It makes the F sound. But when you're looking in the dictionary, it's these specialized letters. We'll get to others. They're not on this list yet, but this particular one is at the end of the alphabet. You start here as if you're going to make an O, and just before you close the loop, you drop it. So it's all in one stroke. Run it around until you almost touch, and then make a fast downstroke. In fact, the circle for phi should be almost the same size as the omicron. They made it a little wider here because this is textbook, but if you're writing it, the only thing that tells you there's a difference is there's this downstroke that's going through and below the line to tell you it's a phi. And words like philosophy, all the PH sounds. And Abba looks like Abba, ante looks like anti, auto looks like auto, ballo looks like ballo. Well, except for the W. Ego, ami, really good close lookalikes. Theta, what's new is the TH sound. Theta. It's a large elongated O with the hash bar. Chi looks like chi. Micro looks like micro, except for the R looks like a P. Petros, now that you know that's an R, looks like Petros, except it's got a pi symbol in front. Caris, A-R-I-S, but it's got this chi, which is the X-looking thing, and it's a KH sound. Christos would be recognizable until you had to learn that this is a sigma, and it's also an S. So Christos. You'll get used to this sigma because it shows up a lot. But you would never draw a sigma like that at the end of a word. It's always like our Latin S is at the tail end if there's a closing sigma. So it's K-H-R-I-S-T-O-S. And then Zodso, this letter, this zeta or zeta, has a peculiarity. The syllable break is halfway between the letter. So it'd be Zod, Zo, but it's not a D and a Z, it's a D sound, Zodzo. But and there's another letter that has this behavior as well. Phonas, you could use an F if you wanted to, but it's proper to say PH because a lot of our English words use the PH. So just get used to making that a PH when you're handwriting. And then O-N-O-S. Yep. So I'm not going to have you memorize the alphabet A to Z or alpha to omega. I just wanted you to practice writing these words 4 times. So after the class, just get a piece of lined notebook paper. I think you can get 4 across on a sheet and then just zip right through here so that your hands get used to making the betas, the nus, the lambdas, the omegas. The gamma can get a little tricky. If you make a big loop there, that's not a problem, but it's not a pinpoint. There is, if you look really close, there's an open space there. The theta, pi you probably do anyhow, the mu, the chi, and then the 2 different kinds of sigmas, and then Have fun with the zeta. Zeta, zeta. It really is a tricky one to write. Okay.
Mentioned it was cursive. So when they write this, do they connect them?
No.
No.
Well, not any documents that I have seen. So the words that we just went through provided 20 letters, and each one is recognizable despite penmanship styles. And there was some awful penmanship in ancient times. But the distinctive pattern made it fairly easy to figure out which letter it would be. Here is A through omega, alpha through omega, A, B, G, E, D, Z, T, H, I, K, L, M, N, O, P, R, S, S, T, U, P, H, K, H, O. Okay. And there's 4 letters that need to go in here, and I haven't done them yet. That's going to be D, delta, eta or eta, which looks like an N. This is the XI, from which we get the word exit. It starts at the bottom, and you got this double curly Q. And then the psychology symbol of psi. This is PS. We'll cover these in the upcoming lesson. But I wanted to, the high usage vowels is alpha, epsilon, iota, omicron, upsilon, omega, and when we get to it, eta. So it's A-E-I-O-U, O-N-E. So A, E, I, O, U, O, E. And since there's no H sound in the alphabet, they make it with, there was at one time in archaic Greek, apparently an H-looking letter, and they chopped it in half vertically, and it got subsumed until finally all it was the little hook that we know it looks like an accent mark that's leaning towards the right, and that's the H symbol. But in Koine Greek, there's no H. But we make the H sound a lot with the little aspiration symbol. Okay, here is the alphabet and the variations that are possible. So here it is in uppercase. We will not be focusing on uppercase except some of the names like Paul, Barnabas, Simon, etc. The Greek New Testament will use an uppercase letter for proper names, but by and large, you're not going to see them very often. So here is the lowercase alphabet, A through Z, or A through omega. It's on 2 pages for me here. Uppercase, how it's what its sound is A, B, G, D, E, Z, or Z, with a really buzzy sound, Z, E, Th, I, or E, K, L, and M. And how people say, they'll say it's a beta. No, it's a beta, alpha, beta, your choice. Is it zeta or zeta? Eta or eta? If you go on the web, you'll find lots of people arguing about this stuff. So I'm not really, I'm not particularly bothered if you make it a long A or a long E sound. Iota or iota? Kappa, lambda. The hyphen is right there, lambda, and then mu. And I'll go to the rest of the alphabet. N or nu, ixi. Omicron, meaning small, so micron, small o, omicron, not Omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon. You'll hear people say upsilon, upsilon. And then here are the three that are at the end of the alphabet, the pair combinations, PH, KH, and PS, phi, chi, psi. And then it ends up with the fancy W, which is an omega, O huge. And so it's a long, loud O sound.
We were taught that it was not an I, it was an E. Phi, he, psi, and we pronounced the P and the S also.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are variations. The reason I like psi is when we get to psychology, it really carries it as opposed to psychology. But yes, you're right. And so once again, how you pronounce it is not going to affect how you translate out of the written text of the New Testament Greek. You'll be able to get it into English without knowing how to properly pronounce them and annoying modern Greek speakers. There you go. All right, here are the alternate ways of making a phi or phi. I'm still going to call it a phi. It's a straight circle and then a full vertical bar, or in a single stroke, which is more in cursive, start at the top, curl around, and in the same stroke, then drop the bar. But you will see text with it used both ways. So it's whoever was doing the writing preferred a full straight bar or a half bar. It's still a phi or phi as Katie learned it. This one is tricky. I wouldn't recognize that if you were to meet me on the street and say, "What is that letter?" I'd go, I don't know. So this is an uppercase. So the uppercase, if you were going to chisel it on a piece of granite, looks like a phi. It's a circle with a vertical bar. This looks too close to a theta to me. And you can see it starts here, curls around, not quite closes, then off to the cut across and then a flip. If I was reading this fast, I might mistake that as a theta or a theta.
It's a fish hook.
It's, yeah. The trick is as you're trying to write these letters, if it looks like it's possible to be done in a single motion, then that's the right way to do it. Some you definitely have to lift the pen, like pi is going to be 3 strokes. There's no way around it. Up here, this capital for XC is 3 lines. There's no way you have to lift the pen 3 times. But sigmas, single loop, rho, single loop, tau, 2 strokes, upsilon and nu, single stroke, phi, single stroke. And then psi is kind of like a upsilon with a flip on both ends and then a vertical bar. Here is a model of the Rosetta Stone, and I hope it's sharp. It's in
Looks good.
3 different languages, and at the bottom is the Greek.
In very small letters.
Yes. So this particular, this is from the British Museum. My father-in-law bought it there and brought it back. I said, "Oh, can I have it?" And he gave it to me. I'm going, "Oh, I'm a happy camper now." This piece of rock is about 3 feet tall in live. And they have it, they had it, when he visited, it was unsheathed. In other words, it was just sitting on props and people could touch it. There was just like a little rope around it. When I went to the British Museum to see it, it was in glass. So there was no way. So it was really next to impossible to get a nice picture of it with your flash on your cell phone. It just kept reflecting off the glass. But so I'm glad to this. I just lay down on the photocopier and make a copy for you. This is the Greek portion. There we go. And this was found by his scientists. It was a discarded monument that was filled within a wall. They were taking apart a wall and they discovered this. So it was totally by accident. It wasn't a standing monument at the time. It was broken off in pieces, and they brought back just the main piece. And then there was a big battle between Napoleon and the English. The English won, and they walked off with some of the treasures from Egypt, and this is one of them, and that's why it's in the British Museum rather than in the Louvre. Notice here that this carver, it's black basalt, and he's just scratching it into the stone. It's all in uppercase, and there are no spaces between the words, right? And oh my, I'm running out of space. The words get smaller and smaller and smaller so you can fit them in. It's like, it was, say again?
There's that sign that says think ahead and the letters get all crushed at the end.
That's right. Of note to you here is that this is Coptic Greek rather than Koine Greek. So there's some minor differences. For instance, this letter right here, I hope you can see my little red dot. That's a lambda. So instead of a single diagonal stroke, it's 3 strokes. It almost looks like a hockey stick or and a shuffleboard stick. There's another letter that's different. Oh yeah, this letter right here, that's the Epsilon. It's the shuffleboard stick upside down. So it's that, and they're just the inverse of each other. So that's an L, and that's a U. What else is strange? Okay, this is a pi. Doesn't go over the edges. It almost looks like a square U upside down. And there's a few others that capitals. That's clearly an omega. Okay, so what I'm doing the next few slides, this is not in the Xerox copy you have, but I'm going to break this apart to show how you can, if you're given you're off on a trip and you're, let's say you're in Turkey and they take you by a monument and it's got Greek letters in here, I'm going to show you how you can break it apart here. All right. So I have put in yellow. Does that come through on the screen? Can you see that they're highlighted?
Yes.
Okay. So this is B-A-S-I-L-E-U.
Basileu.
Basileu. What's that word?
Basilica?
King.
Like basilica? Yes, it's king. Basileu. This is a T-O-U, which is a definitive article, and so it's T-O-U. What does that mean? To?
Of the.
Of the. All right. Here's another word. You don't know this word, but I'm going to skip it momentarily and come back immediately to it. Here is our famous K-A-I, Kai, which means?
And.
And there you go. So if this is T-O-U is a definitive article, and this is the word and, the letters in between have to be another word, and indeed they are. This is an N-E-O-U, Neu, and it means youth.
Oh, youth.
It can also mean, if you're talking about, Will Smith the Junior, this would be the junior or the younger, or the second, however you want to translate it in English, but it's youth, N-O-N-E-O-U. Let's see. Okay, this is the Coptic way of making a theta. So instead of a horizontal bar, they just put a dot in it. So this is T-H-E-O-U-S, Theus. And we're used to seeing it as theos, which is T-H-E-O-S. But what would this word be if it was T-H-E-O-S?
God.
Theos. Just plain old God, right. I have a feeling, sneaking suspicion that this king thinks he's got the authority of the gods to run Egypt or something, right? Okay, this is a U. That's the pi. E, and that is a rho. That's not a P, that is an R. So this is U,
Hooper.
P, Hooper, which means?
Over.
Yes. Yep. Uh-huh. Here's another T-O-U of the, here's a T-O-N, ton, which means?
It's another the.
It's another the. Yeah, it means what's following is going to be the object, not the subject. So this is the acted upon thing, ton. And let's pretend we don't know the next word, and we see a T omega N, tone, which is another form of the. Therefore, what's between these two words has to be another word. And indeed it is. B-I-O-N. It even looks like B-I-O-N, which is, we've learned it as bios, which means?
Life.
Life, yeah, the life of the many. And let's see if we can figure this out. This is an M-E. This is a capital gamma, G-A-S, megas.
Big.
Very large.
Big, very big, yeah. And look here, he must be talking about himself. B-A-S-I-L-E-U-S, the big king, you know. Here is Chi again, but it's missing the crossbar. And it seemed like this particular engraver didn't matter. It looked like an A to him. So K-A-I is and. Here's another tone, another the. I'm looking for the easy ones here. Here's Bayou again, which is of life. A-I-O-N-O. Iona. Do you know what that means? Do you remember?
Heaven. Isn't it heaven or something? No.
Close. Iona. It's kind of like an eon or an era,
Oh.
Oh. Mhm.
and could be translated as heaven if you have the whole context. But yeah, because I know bio is of life, and I know here UPO, pardon me, UPO is hupo, which means under, and two TOU of the, under of the. So, and this is an OU, so it's an of ending as well. So I know between this word and this word, I've got a brand new word. And so you wondered, you know, how did the archaeologists figure out and break up these inscriptions so that they could be translated? Well, they would be going through a method just like I'm doing here. you look for the easy words like the kais and the thes, and then look for things like neo that says, that's got to be a word all by itself because it's between two other words I know are words, so this has got to be a word. Let's see, king, aeon, life, under, of the, so you see the repetition over and over again. So I'm going to now go to the next slide. And here it is in lowercase to help you. Basilu, tu, neos, kai, hooper. Notice it doesn't have the breath mark on it. So the breath mark is something that was added in the 400s to help us with these words to know that there's an aspirated breath mark on that particular. So that's, it's not in the carved stone, but it is in our Greek New Testament. Tu, ton, bion, tone, so that's the lowercase omega. Basili, basilus, two different versions of king. Kai, T-O-U-S, tus is another form of the. Hupo again, right here. Bios up here, tu, another king, and then hupo and tu. So we're not going to translate this whole inscription. I do have it from the British Museum fully translated, but I wanted to just show it to you as a blank slate that you've never seen this before. I hope you've never seen it before, and how you can pull words out of the text. And so if I was translating those, that would be of king, of the young and, above, of the life, of the many, king, and the many, under, life of the king, So what I did, let me go back and just repeat. So I've got a raw inscription. Step one is to isolate the words that you already know or can figure out easily. Get those out of the way first. Then you'll know that, oh, now I can go to a dictionary to find the others. Put it in lowercase Greek to help your brain translate it if it's helpful. And then translate it in a rough wooden form. And there you go. Vowels and diphthongs. I put out on the YouTube videos a video about diphthongs and accents. The guy did such a good job with it. I said, I'm not going to try to duplicate it. So it is there for you to go look at. I will give an abbreviated form of it here. But essentially, these are the vowel sounds all in soft. So a soft ah, soft eh, soft I, soft soft ah, eh, I, ah, Here are the long, and a diphthong, an EI makes an A sound. These make an E sound. This is more like a qui for queen, like queen. UI is we. And then just a straight E sound. Just like in modern Greek, they make it a long E. Erasmus made it a long A sound. And then an AI is an I. Like aisle, not like fail, but like aisle, AI. An omega is a long O, so A-E-I-O. And then for a long U, you have your choice. It could be oo, like feud. It could be ew, or it could be ooh, like soup. Different twangs of the making the oo sound, but they all have a long U sound. So these are diphthong, 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 diphthong. Now there's two more diphthongs. OI, like boil, oi, or like boy, or boil, or oil, is a long sounding. And cow, AU, is ow, ow. And I don't know whether that's short or long. I just had to put it someplace. So I put it up here on short, but probably could go down here. But the diphthongs, all the diphthongs end with either an iota or an upsilon. Epsilon. Even I call it an upsilon sometimes. So here, an upsilon, 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 iota, 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 iota. So those are the only two vowel combinations that will give diphthongs. It's got to end with an I or end with a U. Then you know, and there's a vowel in front, then you've got a diphthong. Okay, diacritics. Dia in Greek means
Through.
through, kind of like the word a way or a via in Latin. And critics comes from krites, as judge. So a diacritic is a mark for deciding pronunciation. I just thought it was a made-up word until I actually learned Greek, and I go, oh, I know what that word means. You know, it's, you know, through some sort of decision, it helps me decide how to pronounce. So I have this in yellow. Is it showing up in yellow on your screens?
Yes.
Okay. So if it's leaning towards the right, it's the H sound. It's the rough breath mark. If it's leaning to the left, it's a pause mark. It usually signals the start of a word, but you don't. It doesn't affect the sound whatsoever. It's just, as far as I can tell, decoration. Because in your modern Greek New Testament, pardon me, in your Greek New Testament that's using Koine Greek, they put spaces between the words for you. So the that little accent is really not needed at all. You can safely ignore it.
You said that the second one usually signals the start of a word.
Yes.
The first one always is at the beginning of a word, is it not? It's never in the middle of a word.
This little symbol?
No, the top one.
Oh, you asked a very insightful question. So if it's a normal word, yes, it starts just at the beginning. But if it's a diphthong, like a UI or an OI, and there's a rough breathe mark in front of it, they put it over the I or over the U. And that's the reason why I had the word for blood. I didn't have the H in there. I went back and looked in my dictionary, and sure enough, there was that rough breathing mark for hema, like hemorrhage. But it was on the second. It was not where I was expecting the H to be. So that's a very good question. And by and large, it's always in front, but on occasion, it'll slip into the second position. And it still means you start the word with an H sound. So this is weos, ho, and he. Yes, I heard something. Go ahead.
Weos.
Weos.
Yeah, with a
Yeah, it's kind of almost like a W.
weos.
Yeah. And that's because the UI diphthong makes it like the word queen. You got like a QWEE kind of feel to it. Queen, weos. All right. So diacritics and diphthongs. This list, go through this as homework. Write each of these words 4 times on a piece of lined paper. And the whole purpose of that exercise is just to get used to writing the letters.
I remembered finally, I didn't learn these in math. I learned them when I was very young. I'm the 4th of 6 kids. And one of my older sisters told me when I was 6, well, yeah, you finished first grade, but to get into second grade, you have to know the Greek alphabet. I learned it over the summer, but nobody ever asked.
Oh, oh, that is rich. So you learned it as a second grader.
No, I knew I had to know it to get into
Second grade. Oh,
So you thought.
First grade. Another one in second grade.
oh, that is
What did you do to get
Speaking
back
for your
at your
sister.
sisters?
big sister. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of big sisters. And a gullible little sister.
Yeah. Well, I was really surprised. Now, how did I pick all these lessons and set them up the way I did? This is my 4th time through, and I had broken these up so they would fit within an hour. But when I looked at the alphabet, the way I had set it up, I said, "Oh, we'll be done in that in 30 minutes," But just like the previous classes, it took a whole hour, and so yeah.